Hey, this is John Reed. We got the special evening Google Hangout taping, and this is going to be a Google Analytics. Well, probably not about Google. It's going to be the SAP Analytics Throwdown. Check out the usual suspects I got here, plus some new ones. I got John Appleby, I got Jamie Oswald, I got Derek LaRonca, I got Clinton Fosley. What's up, guys? Wave to the camera. Yeah, that's nice. I got a real murderer's row, and and not to mention they're all spread out too. I don't know where the hell John is. Clint's in Singapore, and these guys are in who knows somewhere in the American heartland.
Suburbs, just suburbs. We'll leave it there.
Little ditty about Jack and Diane. Anyway. Back on topic. So the reason I gather these guys together is because I think we collectively feel there hasn't been enough discussion about SAP analytics outside of the context of Hana. And so we're going to really dig into it tonight and see if we can emerge with some ideas, some strong suggestions for SAP on where to go with analytics. Is SAP really innovating in analytics at all? And if not, why not? And where does Hana fit in to that discussion as well? So I want to start a little bit with you, John, because you had a bit of a pre-discussion throwdown back in Vegas with the analytics team around this topic. Can you give us some idea of what you told them and what your criticism of SAP analytics strategy has been?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to keep it simple, I guess SAP acquired Business Objects in 2007, 2008 was kind of ran over that period, and during that time they acquired a platform, right, a BI platform, to supplement their aging BW platform that was SAP specific only. Kind of in the meantime, they've sort of alienated the traditional object base. And a lot of those have disengaged to some extent, and they're no longer selling really to a non-SAP install base. Instead, they're selling business objects back into the SAP install base. And in the meantime, and I'm stealing somebody else's words here slightly, but in the meantime, that the world moved on when we moved away from a platform play to an app play. And in the meantime, players like Qlik, MicroStrategy, Tableau, and a bunch of others came along and started to dominate the market, and Business Objects lost some of its relevance. And we kind of combined that with a lack of feature function parity with the existing SAP BW skill set, object set, which means it's hard to migrate customers. And we combine that with the kind of fragmentation of different apps. So SAP's produce visual intelligence and 100 other different apps along that play. We put all this together, and it means that for SAP customers, it's really challenging to say, what tool should I implement? When should I implement it? How do I get off Cognos? We've got a ton of customers that want to get off Cognos PowerPlay, and how do I get off? And how do I avoid this sort of spread mark proliferation that is Qlik software that appears in a department here and then tries to go enterprise-wide? That in essence is the challenge.
So John, how did SAP Analytics team take it when you completely deconstructed their strategy right now? Were they defensive? Did they agree? I mean, that was a pretty devastating deconstruction right there.
I got invited to a room with a group of people, and actually they were pretty good. There was a mix of agreement and disagreement, but the message I got quite clearly was, actually, we have stabilized the BI stack, which was a big problem in 2012, and actually we're seeing that in customers now.
I'm curious about stabilizing the BI stack. How are we defining that?
Well, I guess what I mean in the terms that I would refer to is that my customers that run the BI platform are now happy with stability. It sounds like you don't agree.
Okay, let's put stability up on the whiteboard, okay? As a topic to return to. Anyway,
let's suppose, and actually, what they were saying is we get your points and we're addressing them, and they said give us some time. That was the essence of it. Was give us some time. We got it.
Okay. So John, you've been spending a lot of time with Hana. Is it fair to say that SAP has not done a good job of describing an analytics strategy that doesn't put Hana in the middle as a sort of technology and infrastructure that companies are going to have to buy? How does Hana fit into this?
Well, we've been talking around this together in the last week. HANA has got the attention of SAP. It's got the board attention of SAP. It's got the investment of SAP, and it's generating the revenue, right? And we need to be careful what we say because we're ending the year, but the numbers are going to be good for HANA. So it's no surprise that it's front and center. At the same time, I kind of feel like the analytics team has been making an effort to try and move away from that. Especially with, we talked about price bundles for IQ analytics. They've not got it right, let's face it, but I sort of feel like they are trying to embrace that wider market. And actually, with the Sybase IQ and the data services integration platforms, to some degree, they do have a pretty nice offering for people that don't want to run HANA. I just don't think they got the messaging right yet. And that's a little sad, actually, because I think they've got a pretty good product there.
Okay, guys, so what are your comments and questions for John based on how he laid that out?
Yeah, kill me now.
Well, I think John hit the nail on the head with the messaging comment. It's all in the messaging. And that's, I think, somewhere where we'll probably all agree that there's going to need to be continued work in that. And, I'm sure we'll talk more about that during the course of the Hangout. But John John was right there. Absolutely. I mean, it's all in messaging. I mean, yeah.
Well, I just think that, the progression of all this has been very confusing. I mean, when SAP first bought Business Objects customers were worried that you would have to have, SAP running in order to get any of the innovation that came out. And it just seems that, SAP spent, the next 3 or 4 years really trying to sell the message, hey, you'll always be able to use us on Oracle or SQL Server or anything else. But now that SAP has, not just an application background, but a database background, it seems like that's really sort of going away. And I think it's, I know that right now they're offering the IQ bundle with the Business Objects bundle, but I mean, I'm not sure what customer that really, goes for. I mean, clearly it's a decent sell for mid-market people, but if you go with IQ, it's just the pricing is the only value. There's not a lot of benefit with getting Sybase versus anything else because it's not extra integrated into the platform. It's clearly not where the innovation is going into IQ stuff. It's all going into HANA. So, or at least that's the way it seems.
So, Clint, we're having a little bit of delay with your audio. Let's keep trying with it, and if it gets to be a problem, I might have you log out and back in. But Clint, tell us, do you think, would you consider SAP to have an innovative analytics strategy? And if not, what do you think they need to do?
I don't think they're innovative at all, to be quite frank. I mean, it's been the same product set that they've sort of bundled together for a couple of years. There were a couple of case studies where people just deployed the wrong architecture or the wrong sort of solution within the stack, and I don't think SAP are guiding them. Now, for me, coming from a Sybase Business Objects world, I take innovation out of it. I want to look at a solution holistically throughout, all the way in from a source system, all the way, from an EIM data services point of view. And I think it's a combination of sales and also a combination of skills. Not many people have that sort of skill set, and especially from an AE point of view, to talk across the whole stack.
Okay, so John, just kind of helping us to sort of finish wrapping up this introduction, where did you leave stuff with the SAP analytics team? Did you get the impression Because you know how when you talk with SAP, sometimes you kind of get the feeling that it's kind of like, well, thanks for your input, but we'll take it from here, and you never hear from them again. Other times you get more of a sense of engagement, and they really want to follow through and solve the problems. What did you get the sense of with this dialogue you were having? Where's it going?
I got a sense that this wasn't the first time that they'd heard what I'd said, especially from the people that were closer to development. So they weren't hearing anything new, which was good, I think. And they got it. And they showed me some of the new products, and I was, obviously we've got whatever Zen is now called.
Design Studio.
Design Studio, right, whatever. They've got that, but they showed what was coming next. And, I won't reveal it, but I thought it was pretty interesting from an SAP BI and a non-SAP BI perspective, from a HANA perspective, from a non-HANA perspective. I thought all of that was, pretty interesting, and they got it, and they knew they needed to work on it. The real question is, and this is where SAP has really struggled with, where is BI going next? Because they've been playing catch up for 5 years now.
Yeah, well, and they still largely are, right? I mean, the newish products that they've released, apart from Zen, are really just to sort of box out competitors more than, show off something new. I mean, they're, predictive analytics and Visi both have clear competitors that they're going after with those.
I was part of a back channel analyst debate. John, I'd like to get your take on this. The analyst said, used Bob J, just said, the product is still 5 different disparate apps. Now it has the smoothed over common UI, but the data models aren't harmonized. The metadata library is very different. They never did the rewrites that Cognos and Hyperion did. The product is getting ancient every day and falling behind the competition, which gets back to the kind of, I guess you could call it quick and dirty BI, or the Tableaus or the ClickViews of the world, or what have you. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a little bit unfair, or is that spot on? Or
I think it was a comment that was deliberately made to be a little bit antagonistic, right?
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some truth in it, and some untruth. I mean, there is a common platform. That common platform has a lack of commonality in some places, right? Some of the products play better than some of the others. But there is a common platform. And at the same time, the BI market is moving really fast. I mean, a year ago, nobody had heard of Tableau. Now, everyone has. And, we don't know where it's going next. And can Hana bridge that divide? Perhaps. But in doing so, potentially the alienation of the rest of the market. It's and I don't want to be too tough on these guys, because it's a really tough place to be right now. It's really tough to be on.
Right. Is it almost like SAP's been spending a lot of time with integration and standardization, but meanwhile the market's been transforming into quick self-service apps for business users and quick mobile rollouts and things that really challenge that focus on stability and integration? Is that kind of part of the dilemma here?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's part of SAP's problem, and it's not their fault. They've got an enormous customer base with a diversity of different applications and different pieces of software. What are they supposed to do? It's almost an impossible place to be in, right? You've got all of this legacy. Any change you make must drag along that legacy.
Right. By the way, John, I really am admiring your tree. Do you
like it?
It's coming out. It's coming out nicely on the camera as well. So.
Well, it's the holiday season, right?
Yeah.
So we should.
It's going to make the peeps feel warm and cheery, I think. Jamie, you look like you're about to combust over there, and that's good because.
And I got to go and get myself some power, so I'll let you guys talk it through.
And that's good because I really wanted to sort of shift gears to a few of the things that you were kicking around in our emails. So I want to give you a chance to respond to John's comments, and then maybe we can follow up with some of the things that you were bringing up as well that John hasn't addressed yet.
Sure. Well, just to comment on what you and John were talking about, I think that SAP has spent the last several years working on sort of the enterprise, back-end integration of BI, while, the spending power within organizations for BI has really shifted out. I mean, we've seen a real drive towards departmental solutions and things like that. And, the finance department was out buying, Tableau or ClickTech or MicroStrategy, while, the enterprise SAP was working on making the enterprise piece work. So that's kind of a tough hustle that SAP got themselves into. And I think that, SAP had some of the right ideas when they really rebuilt BI. So obviously, they bought Business Objects shortly thereafter XI 3.1 was released, but that was largely in the can before SAP bought them. Then BI4 was supposed to be the real integration piece where seamlessly everything worked together through this platform, and it worked great for SAP BW shops and great for platform agnostic shops and all of these things. And I think that there were two problems that still haven't been addressed. Obviously we do have the more smooth look and feel. We do have the multi-source universe, which is something that people have been just dying for years. But I think that the release quality is still largely not there. I know a lot of shops that still aren't on BI4, even though it's been GA for a year, because, you can't find a patch and that has all of the fixes that happened before. It's like every patch you go to, you lose 3 fixes you got in the last one, and it fixes some different things. So you have to be really careful about implementing anything. And that includes, changes to the calculation engine, just other stuff that is supposed to work out of the box. And so people are having a hard time with that. I think the bigger issue is really that they didn't do enough to line up the semantic layers, right? So you can create a BW connection in the new information design tool, but SAP typically recommends that you don't. They really want you to go directly to BW in all of the tools. So, and the same with Hana, right? They have basically three semantic layers. The common semantic layer, which you're not supposed to use with BW or Hana, the BW semantic layer, or the Hana semantic layer. And so the end result is, they've created beautiful tools like Visi. They've enhanced tools like Webby and Crystal, but you can't really go with them all the same way. I think, the million hours they spent on BI4 would have been a much better investment if all of the semantic layers were handled in there. So, you can put in Oracle or SQL Server or ASE or IQ or HANA or BW in there. And if there's some extra features that get turned on in there for special connections, that's fine. But overall, everything goes through the universe, so that then all of the applications have to worry about is dealing with the universe, not Crystal has to worry about how it's going to deal with the universe and Bex and HANA, and I think that that's really where a big opportunity was missed.
So, Jamie, I'm going to butt in here for a second. Sorry, I had to go and find my power supply because I was about to burn out. But my question is this: how do you resolve this, given the constraints that we described already? What do you actually do? Because this is a really, really, Adam Binney's job. Adam runs the solution management side of the org for SAP, right? Adam. Right. That is a tough job, and I criticized him on this, and he said, "What do you want? Pace of delivery or proliferation of platform?"
Well, I think that's a really tough thing, right? Because they invested just a ton in BI4, but they've already invested that, right? I mean, that was going to be their show pony. What would you do next?
How would you solve that?
I think that I would figure out how to make BW and HANA work in the information design tool, so that the universe can be that semantic layer. I mean, I don't understand how it's harder to make that work than it is to make every tool except 3 different methods of accessing it.
I mean, one of the things I read was that they were looking to push everything down into HANA.
Yeah, that's what I hear too. I mean, every time you talk about HANA, it's where you do all of your modeling, you put all of your business rules in there. it washes the dishes after it makes dinner. It's fantastic, right? But that doesn't do anybody any good that doesn't buy Hana, and most people aren't there yet. At least not for everything, right? I mean, even if you are on the cutting edge of technology and you've bought Hana, and you're an SAP customer, you've still probably got some BW stuff out there that you want to get to through BACS, right? You've got your Hana special apps that you need to access, and you've still got your one-off databases that live out there. So even within one company who is a primarily SAP shop can still be using all three of these semantic layers with the same output tools. It's just incredibly frustrating, and it's got to have a huge TCO, I would think, that every time you access something, you've got to do it 3 times. All of your people have to know 3 different systems from the ground up. You've got to go that way, and a lot of this has made me just wonder if SAP customers are just used to paying for everything out the nose, right? And so, yes, we know we buy something. We know we're going to have an army of consultants to support it. We know that, we're going to have 8 people just to keep the Hana stuff moving for everything, where in the old business objects world, a pretty good-sized company would have maybe 2 people that knew how to build semantic layers and how to administer the system and how to, do user security and all that stuff. And it doesn't seem like with the new world of SAP that's feasible. There's just too much babysitting that has to be done on the servers. There's too much, disparate functionality that people have to support, and it's your BI teams are going to have to grow, which makes not only the licensing more expensive, but the cost to maintain and keep it going.
Yeah, and in terms of the universe concept, I did bring up, Jamie, your question about that with the analytics leadership team that was in Bangalore for SAP Tech Ed. I was on a virtual session there, and their response was definitely recognizing that there is an issue there with the confusion and the proliferation of platforms. And they said, expect a better answer by Sapphire Orlando. So I know that's going to make you feel really good to know that's coming in May.
So I get my new budget on January 1st, and I have 6 months to know how to invest it. That's tough. That's tough from a customer perspective.
It's even better than that, Jamie. You get your budget on January 1st, right? And then you plan out the rest of the year, but then in May, you realize that you need more money.
Yeah.
Then say, this does fix everything, but what the? Okay.
Well, and
that's what it is.
You don't time your budget to hit right after May?
Dude, I don't have a budget. You're assuming that. I got a paycheck.
Well, it gets a little bit back to that messaging question, because, of course, the response in the chat was a little incredulous with the 6 months, right? And so, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, 6 months to come up with a reasonable solution to this vexing problem would actually not be so bad if, as Derek was emphasizing earlier, if in January there was some type of interesting and useful information on the roadmap and what the plan is. And so hopefully that's what SAP took away from that discussion, because we were kind of like, okay, you have till May, sure, but how about checking in January and letting us know what to expect? And so I don't know if we will see that or not, but
there's something really interesting though here, right? Which is the group of people that, it's an interesting group of people we have here, but what we have is 2 classic style business objects customers. How many years have you guys been using business objects for? Jamie, give me a number.
12.
Derek?
Probably about the same.
And this is, this is exactly the reaction you'd expect, right? You've been working with it and it worked fine. And
you're right, John. We're working with it. It worked fine. I just want to know what's coming up, or let me plan. And it comes to what John, just said about, the roadmap and the laying things out in an order that I know. It's like we all, we had a good laugh last year at an ASUG meeting where we said, 4.0 is coming, so it's 4.0. You never do a 0.0 launch for business objects because there's always something. And then what happens? We wait and we get FP, Service Pack support pack, service pack 4, dot service pack 75, whatever, with the SAP numbering that I still haven't learned yet. But what you have there is I think the classic Padre customer realizes that times they are changing. But what the times they are changing is that at least give me the map to follow along with the interstate as you're building it, as opposed to at the end of the day, I'm just going to go out this exit and hope there's a gas station.
And Derek, sorry, and I want to be clear. It wasn't intended to be a muted criticism that you guys are.
Oh,
I'm just saying it's the background. That's where you guys come from, and the fact that you don't get any kind of level of innovation you've been used to, that's indicative of the way you feel.
I was agreeing with you, actually.
I wasn't agreeing with you. but yeah, I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't trying to make some kind of muted criticism. It's really tough for that group of people that knew business objects as a customer in 2006, 2007.
Clint, I want to go briefly to you because I want to see how your audio is doing. So give me a couple comments on what you've been listening to.
I'm also a classic Bob J person, been in it in 10 years as well. So, very much same as Derek and Jamie. And I think another point which is quite important is the migration woes of going to BI4. So as someone like me who runs a partner, who I am an SAP partner, and we shouldn't be making project plans and revenue off that. It should be a bit more seamless than it is. And I think that's also one of the issues where customers, especially with large deployments, are pretty cautious before they go, because it's a big move and a bumpy road.
It is, and there's no real guarantee of where the product is going to be in 2 years, right? I mean, we know that by then Zen will work with universes and whatever, but it's if I'm making a decision to invest heavily in BI right now, I either have to add more to my existing business objects investment or consider switching. I mean, I don't know how much further I want to go down the rabbit hole, not knowing how much more I can count on getting from SAP. I mean, if the message is clearly, we're developing and we're working to make SAP customers happy, then, I don't know that. And yeah, I know we're all SAP customers, but I mean, there's a difference, right?
And John, before you jump in there, I mean, the conversation I had in Vegas suggested to me that there's some nice stuff coming for SAP and non-SAP people, and they got that producing products purely for BW or for HANA is not a winning strategy with these guys in particular.
So Derek, as you were listening to Jamie, is that similar to your experience, or how is your experience different or similar to Jamie's?
Well, it's pretty similar. I think if you take something along the lines of the new tools, right? So you've got Visi, right? And you've got Visi out there. It was launched at Sapphire ASUG Annual Conference in May. It went GA right then, right? But it was only GA for HANA and Excel/CSV files. I swore, and I could find in my notes that it was either Vishal or someone said that the Universe connector for Visi was coming in 30 days after annual conference. And when was that launched? Right before the SAP Business Objects User Conference by ASUG in September. 6-month gap. It seems to be the 6-month magic word, like you said, John. When Visi launched, it was 64-bit only. A lot of companies, rolled out 32-bit because of backward compatibility for Windows 7. I understand that, SAP is working on a 32-bit version of Visi that's out there in alpha heading towards beta. So they are doing a little catch-up. And I know I talked to SAP management, and I understand why it went 64-bit only. Just like for the same reason for Microsoft, Power Pivot works much better when you're doing it in Office 2010 on a 64-bit machine, because it just can crunch more numbers. And the underlying underpinnings of Visi work better in 64-bit because of what's under it. But for me, it was the roadmap. It's a constant type of messaging, and as Jamie said it, and even John, I think John said it as well, was the gap. Let's look at the BW only products. Analysis Office. Analysis Office is a great tool. I had users who saw that they want it. We have a large 6-digit plus investment in MSaaS, Microsoft SQL Server Analytical Services, right? Can't use it. I steered all the time towards Analysis Web. They don't want web. They want the Office plugin. So is there an MSaaS or an S-base or other version of Analysis Office coming? Possibly. It's on the roadmap. But the question becomes, what is the actual roadmap and what's the messaging back to customers? If we're going to launch a new product, in 6 months, right? Right. And we're going to launch the product in 6 months, but we're going to start off. Let's take Vizio as a great example, John. I love the title. That works. But I ain't going to say it.
Just for those who are not understanding why we're laughing, John created a topic for our hangout. He called it Analysis Mofos, which maybe is some grain of truth there. Anyway, continue.
I can't wait to see the T-shirts.
cafepress.com. But back to what I was saying to John was the fact that Vizio is a great example of a rollout that could have been better. When you talk to SAP, you understand the reasonings for stuff, and the topic just keeps changing. No, I'm just kidding. But what happens is that with the analysis and Vizio, we're back to Vizio again. Keep messing me up, John Appleby. That what you had was 64-bit only, but we're going to work on a 32-bit. HANA and Excel only, but we're coming to a universe UNX type connector. If at launch these things are communicated, what you have is the people who don't have HANA, who don't have BW, can get on a standard roadmap of, all right, they're launching a new version of this. It's going to be BW or SAP ERP connector specific for the first 6 months, and then your DB2 SQL Server, IQ, ASE connectors are 6 months later. And if that's the case, I understand that the words before business objects are now SAP. I understand that, as a smaller customer, back in the days of business objects before SAP, I had a larger stick. I now have a smaller stick. Fine with it. In that messaging, it would solve a lot of problems. I think the angst in the community is if there was clear communication. Plain and simple.
Well, Derek may be happy with his small stick, but I still spend a lot of money. So I would like proper recognition for mine.
I'm not exactly sure where we're headed here, but I think we're getting back to our pre-taping discussion about pay-per-view.
Yeah,
location-based pay-per-view.
Yeah, this won't end well.
But Jamie, Derek, I got to say I'm a little bit confused because you guys do talk with SAP so much in the context of ASUG and mentors and GlobalCom and everything else. Is it that you're not being heard, or there's not follow through, or is the dialogue going pretty well, but you just want it to get better? Or
well, I think that there are a couple things going on there, right? I think that the non-classic SAP customers have a harder time influencing the roadmap, just because, quite frankly, we don't have as big an investment as the large classic SAP shops do, right? And I think one thing that is also different is if you talk to the CIO of an SAP company, they can tell you what version they are on of just about everything. If you talk to the CIO of a company who has no SAP but has business objects, they might know what major releases it's on, but that's about it. I mean, it's just a much smaller portion of your IT spend than your ERP is. And so when I think SAP has a harder time gathering influence from lower levels of the organization, which is typically where your business intelligence interest is, right? I mean,
I'm going to argue with that.
It's just a different level.
I'm going to argue with that, but I'm really interested to know the facts. That's not. So you guys are both non-SAP ERP customers, right?
Correct.
Same for you, Derek.
Same for me.
So that's well, there's a lot wrong with that. No, I'm kidding. That is what it is.
We couldn't all be born perfect, John.
No.
We just have to learn it.
And Jamie,
John will be sure to forward your email addresses to SAP Sales for the ERP 6.0 upgrade action.
Anyway, so then I'll have my business objects AE, my Sybase AE, my Hana AE, and my ERP AE. I'm really excited.
We can find you more. We can find you more than just that, especially if you're interested in cloud services. But on a serious note, though, what that means that you purchase software from SAP primarily for the purpose of business analytics. But does that not? They say something like 10% of the average organization has access to analytics. Is that not in your organization as the 10 more senior executives? And is it not the people actually have buying influence?
Well,
see where I'm going here.
Yeah, not directly. I mean, most executives I know, their BI solution is on their phone. They pick it up, they dial a number, and then they ask somebody for numbers, right? I mean, so
it has no meaning to them.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care if it comes out of Webby or Crystal or Visi or whatever. They say, I want to see, the sales trend for the last 6 months, and they get it in some
BI
common format.
Is called Dave.
Yes. Yeah.
And Derek, is that the same for you? Is it called Derek or Dave?
It's definitely not called Derek, I'll tell you that much.
Derek says, my BI solution is not called Derek.
But I mean, in your experience, are the senior executives building Bex queries and formatting outputs and stuff, or are they just downstream? I mean, even if they're getting something delivered to them directly, it's in a scheduled PDF or a scheduled Excel file.
Wait,
that's changing in my customers.
Wait, John, executives don't love Bex? I'm getting confused.
Well,
I thought execs loved them some Bex queries.
You're talking to the wrong person, because you're talking to the guy who actually really likes Bex, which I may be the only person out there, but I think it's a great tool. There are a lot of things you can do in Bex that are really hard to do elsewhere.
And I'm not trying to disparage BW or Bex or anything. I mean, those are fantastic acronyms as far as I'm concerned.
Look, but let's not go there for now. But at least with my customers, I feel that generally the executive level access is provided through an app, and they're aware of what that app is.
I think that they're aware of what it is. They know that it's business objects, but as far as any sort of detail that would lead them to do anything else, they don't care. It could be called Cognos or whatever. They just need to know to ask somebody, go run me a business objects report or go run me a Cognos report.
Yeah, and most importantly, they know what information what the information they want is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're about 40 minutes in. I think we've accomplished some good things. In fairness to SAP, I think there have been a lot of new product releases last year when you consider everything from Visi to Zem, which has had a name transplant, to Explorer Views, and even you could argue from, I know Clint's passionate from the IQ perspective, and even incorporating those assets better, for example, I think makes a difference, and some of the IQ capabilities being incorporated in these new products as well. So any reviews on where SAP's headed? Any apps you feel are promising, or maybe that you just totally can't stand, one or the other?
Well, I don't have any apps that I dislike, right? I mean, I think that there is tremendous promise in predictive analytics and Visi. I think Design Studio is probably the most innovative thing that they've done, but I think that the messaging around it has really been, this is the next Excelsius, which I think is selling it a bit short and a bit in the wrong direction. So I do think that SAP has done a very good job of rounding out their platform, right? So as a business object customer, if I have a department come to me that says, I want to go buy SaaS, or I want to go buy ClickTech, or I want to go buy Tableau, I have perfectly valid reasons to say, no, we have something that you can use to do those same things, right? So I'm from a customer, am very happy that they have sort of an answer to all of the major BI functions that I could possibly need. I think in some spots, obviously, we've got a lot of potential answers, right? So I know a lot of people want them to minimize the tool set and that, and I think that there's value in that. But I think that definitely takes time, especially to do it right. I mean, it's taken us 5 years to kill Desky, and we've, still got some long tail on that. So I think that we should be very happy about all of that. And I do think that we should be happy that SAP is finally talking about some of the Sybase database solutions. I recognize that they didn't want to have Sybase eating Hana's lunch there for a little while, but I think that they finally understood that Hana isn't the answer for everybody right now, and so Sybase does fit in, and I think that it's great that we're finally starting to get some of that messaging out.
Any other comments on new products?
I mean, I personally love Visi. I think it's a great product. The only thing that concerns me about the Visis and the ClickText and the Tableaus is, what it does in my experience, it creates sort of, spread marks on steroids almost. And I understand that, within the department, BI is getting pushed down there, but, you quite end up with the classic word of the silo sitting all over your organization. And I think if you use a tool like Visi properly and correctly in sort of prototyping to try get to the bigger picture, it's great. It's also quite dangerous in the hands of the wrong people, because if they start bringing Excel spreadsheets in and getting their own numbers and, the single version of the truth sort of fell away. So, I mean, I can't remember who told me this, but, it's very similar to McDonald's. They say if you have it every once in a while, it's okay, but if you have it every day, it'll kill you. And the terms being, if you can bring in this information that's not clean, at the end of the day, you're going to make wrong decisions. So I think Visi is awesome. I love it. I love using it. I love prototyping on it. I think it can cut your development time from a large platform down. I think it's amazing. But, being cynical and as a consultant, if people are using it, just means we're just going to come in one day to clean it all up.
I will take some exception to that, because I do think that Visi is the first time where we've seen, at least in a mass audience product, the ability to write back. And I know that write back is limited right now, and that you can only write back from Visi to Hana, and I'm sure that there are plenty of limitations around that and obstacles and all that, but at least there is that thought that somebody's taken the time to pull this in. They have cleansed this data. They have figured out how everything goes. Let's not just leave it in a spreadsheet and not let anybody else use it. Let's put it back up into a place where it can be accessed from multiple places. And it's clearly not perfect yet, but it is at least a nod to the need for the single version of the truth. So I will give SAP kudos for that.
Are you sure you can write back?
Yes.
Uh-oh, throwdown. Jamie, we have you on mute, Jamie.
Sorry, you can't write back to the source data, but you can write back to an enterprise space. That's not a spreadsheet or not a, something less enterprisey.
Okay, sounds like a factual clarification will be in order at a later time. By the way, John, I'm appreciating the fact that we've gotten comfortable enough with our taping sessions that you can just come and go whenever you want. That's awesome. It's a whole new level of comfort you and I have with these things. It's great.
I have you guys on speakerphone, so
yeah.
I've had to run to a couple of things.
Yeah, feel free.
Sorry.
Wander about is no problem, man. It's interesting for the viewer. They don't want to just see us sitting here the whole time. They want to see us moving around.
I think they probably want
John
to
has
see
a tree,
though. That's a bad idea when I dance.
But John has a tree. I mean, so there's background there.
Yeah, there's something to look at.
At least he didn't take us with him.
So Derek, what in terms of new products are there any that you think? I know you want to see better roadmaps around them, but are there any that you think are hitting pain points and stuff?
Oh yeah, for me, what I see for predictive. Well, I agree with Jamie. It's got some future. For me, I mean, we're a huge SaaS shop. If someone's coming to me saying, I need to build this and I need to do some SaaS analysis, I'm not going to say, here's predictive. I'm going to say, if you know SaaS, go. But I can see where SAP is going with that. They're trying to get away from, all right, you don't need to spend all this infrastructure on SaaS. You can pick a predictive and do it departmentally, locally, and share. That makes sense, especially when it comes to how they're positioning the stack. Visi, I mean, I will say that Visi is the one I do see, like Jamie, I see some promise. I see the fact that it's competitive. I see that. I think the thing that I like most about Visi is that I had someone tell me that they wish that they would have come 6 months earlier out with Visi, including the universe connectivity, because this person's company probably wouldn't have bought Tableau. They would have bought Visi because they're already in a business object stack across the way, and 80%, 85% of what they were going to get out of Tableau, they're going to get out of Visi, so they could keep with their standard enterprise portfolio. It was just a matter of timing. So that was interesting to me. It's the same way, that discussions I've had with SAP. It's like, liked it, it looks good, but I can't recommend it right now because it's only 64-bit, and I've got 30,000 Windows 7 32-bit desktops. So right now it's square peg, round hole. Come and see me when you've got the 32-bit, and maybe then I can staunch my Tableau discussions and bring Visi in with my portfolios. But I think sometimes everyone forgets that even with the Visis and the Tableaus, what you do get some incremental and maybe larger than incremental benefits in upgrading to BI4. I know that a lot of users, the common charting engine is something that we've been waiting for forever, inside Webby. A Webby chart that doesn't look awful. It doesn't look like Excel, 95. Something like that, I hate to say it's groundbreaking, but it's groundbreaking. I don't have to have people knocking on my door saying, I need a dashboard or I need a graphical report. With Webby and a new charting engine, I can do 80, 90% of what I could do in my daily job, and it's right there in front of me. I don't have to ask anybody to do it. Hey, sold, then you don't have to bother me anymore. I can do other things that bother me, I suppose. But, so I think the new products that they've got, they've got some legs on them. And I think once we figure out that platform stability, once we figure out that common semantic layer, hopefully in 6 months we hear something good about that. What you then have is, everyone can take the one step forward together as opposed to, all right, here's your platform agnostic, here's your SAP HANA, here's your ASE folks. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Clint, I think I'm ready to take a daring foray into your sound quality. We're getting a couple of chops, but it's not terrible, and I really want to hear from you as far as, I know that a lot of times you have blogged fairly passionately. You've been kind of a voice in the wilderness about enterprise data warehousing outside of BW, which is kind of blasphemy, but anyway. But you've also wrote a lot about IQ and BI. What are we missing in this discussion from your perspective that we haven't touched on?
It's tricky because if you're talking analytics with SAP, it doesn't really involve the database and technology stack, and I think that's probably what's missing. From a Bob J can very much be the lipstick on the pig sale, and as a sort of a classic enterprise data warehouse person who wants to do things properly, it involves a lot more architecture than that. And for me, somehow, within SAP, the AEs need to get recognized selling across data services, information steward, IQ, ASE, because, just the energy doesn't go into the sale, and you can understand that. I mean, everybody needs to put bread on the table, and if a customer's got a certain amount of money to spend and you're not going to get recognized down the line, you're going to try to sell as much Bob J as possible.
I take it you think the depth of the data warehouse is overrated then?
I believe it is. Just picking up on the point earlier on, the information's dirty. That's the way it is to it. And quality of information is vital to any organization and any system. And let's assume one day we're all running in memory, whether it's HANA or not. You're going to have a lot of stuff, a lot of controls, a lot of process needs to be up front from your data input to get that running properly. If we lived in a world like that, I wouldn't really have a job.
Well, I don't want to put you out of a job anytime soon, that's for sure. How do you think SAP could improve its strategy to take that view into account?
Yeah, it's just look at solutions more holistically. And I mean, Jamie, I don't want to put you in a spot, but I know you mentioned early on you're dealing with 3 or 4 different AEs trying to sell different products in. And, I've had this situation in here, in my customers where the Sybase guys are trying to get IQ in, and then the BobJ guys are trying to get, and it's just a dogfight for that budget. Instead of, sitting down with the customer and saying, let's architect your solution front to end and sort of try to split the pie.
Yeah, and my guys have actually been great at working with each other. I've heard from a lot of other customers though that their guys, they don't work with each other. They don't they clearly don't understand all of the options that are out there. So they'll certainly be happy to give them a solution that works. It may not be the one that's best for them. And then if your AE or AE group is selling you one set of solutions right up until you get a new AE every March, then that person sells you something totally different. It's just tough to know, who to believe in. It's tough, I think, for a lot of customers to really get out there and fully vet all of the available solutions and figure out what all of those options are, to know when they need to push back on their AE and say, I know that this is what you want to sell me, but this is what I need to buy. And it's tough. I mean, customers don't all have people that can go out and know everything that's going on in the market and what's out there.
So, John, help me out here. We have we have about 10 minutes left in our taping. I'm going to give everyone a chance for some final words. But before we do that, have we accomplished anything? Have we missed anything? A couple things that come to mind that we haven't touched on are HTML, Flash, that whole thing that was such a big topic of discussion like a year ago, for example. Are we getting more comfortable with that aspect, or is it just more of a finer point? And also, we really haven't talked about HANA, which was our goal, but are we being unfair to SAP if we don't acknowledge what the innovation SAP is doing around analytics with HANA, etc.? What do you think? Where are we in this discussion right now? Have we missed it?
37 questions in one sentence, right?
Yeah. Well, I trust you to pick what's worth talking about and go off the list.
I mean, let's not get away from the fact that HANA is going to change analytics more than probably any analytics product in the last 20 years, in my feeling anyway. You can do things that you just couldn't do before. So we shouldn't we should be a little graceful, perhaps, towards SAP for HANA, because they've done great things. I'm not sure that the BI stack brings out the best in HANA yet. I mean, you've got products like Analysis for Office, which I think is awesome on HANA, and Explorer, sorry, which is good, but
Polestar.
Polestar, right? Yeah.
Polestar, Explorer, yeah, not Voyager. Yeah, thank you for the correction. Which I think is awesome, but not as awesome as it should be. But let's. And then you've got this product which I've seen is coming, which I think solves kind of a few of those things in one. I'm looking at John looking very serious there in his HD camera. It's a ridiculous degree of detail going on. I'm struggling a little bit because I don't know what I would do if I were in charge of this stack of products. It's a big stack of products. There is a lot to do. There is the classic business objects customers, which are non-SAP ERP and business objects BI. You've got the Clints of this world, which are EDW types that want to build great data warehouses and great analytics solutions. And you've got the classic SAP stack. And then they've got the fourth category, which is the HANA category. How do you keep all of those people happy? It sounds like an impossible job. And so that's pretty much how I feel about it. And I don't know what the solution is, because in the meantime, you've got companies that are much smaller and can afford to be much more agile, like Tableau, running rings around Visi, which is trying to be one thing to the HANA peeps, one thing to the SAP peeps, one thing to the BI peeps, the BobJ peeps, and one thing to the EDW peeps. How can they win?
Mm-hmm. All right, I think that's fair. What are the solutions? Let's go at it.
Well, I think a clear roadmap for, just overall strategy is what you need to expect. Now, the problem is that, once you put it out there, people may not like it. I was at an ASUG meeting the other day, and the roadmap, was basically just several squares pointing towards a Hana future where, there were less squares, but one of the big ones was Hana. And that really took a lot of the air out of everything else. And so if that's true, if the long term really is just, Hana or the highway, then okay, as a customer, if I don't think I will ever have interest in Hana, then the next time I'm due to evaluate a new BI solution, I'm gonna have to seriously consider that. I will say that I think, by the time that comes up, that a lot of customers will have considered Hana, because I do agree with John that, it is changing everything. But
changing what exactly, Jamie?
Hana
Wait, is it changing the game?
Oh.
Meow. Meow.
Oh boy.
But I do think that roadmap is the key.
Whoops. Someone may need to mute out. Mute up. Thank you. Wow, that was a little scary. That was like
Darth Vader eating and breathing kittens.
Yeah, that was kitten consumption. Sorry for our listeners to have to hear the sound of kittens being mauled to death, but it does happen when Hana comes up. Okay, so Jamie, you can try unmuting now and finishing your concept there.
I just think that, if there's going to be a point where there is no longer a non-Hana roadmap, it would be good for customers to know that sooner rather than later. And, because at that point, I think that if you're not an SAP customer, at least, I just don't know how that figures in for you.
John, to get back to your point around what is the solution, I think to some degree this gets back to some of the criticisms of SAP Mobility, where you look at it and you say, there are problems, but also the field is moving so quickly, and that's not all on SAP. That's also a market issue, and the same is definitely true of analytics. But what I would say to you though, John, is when we have a session like we did in Bangalore with which I attended virtually, and when we ask about the semantic layer issue, for example, the answer that it's not getting resolved until May because it's very complicated is not necessarily a bad answer, but I think the bad part of the answer is ask us again in May, because as Derek and Jamie pointed out, that's not going to work for customers. So it might work for a mentor like me, but for a customer, they need to hear in January what's happening in May. And so I would put to you, John, that part of the solution has to be better communication and transparency around what's happening.
I feel like I'm the SAP scapegoat, as if I work for SAP now. I'm kidding. But and actually in Vegas, the people I spoke to, they didn't say that. They said, but and I simplify it, we already heard this. This is what we're doing. Let us show this to you under NDA, and it's going to happen before May. That's what they told me, which is different to what you've said, and I think a much better message. Whether it's true or not, the proof is in the pudding.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and that's what we'll find out. I mean, I think that's kind of why we wanted to gather this hangout, is not necessarily to repeat things that have already been said, but to kind of get across to SAP that folks are listening and they want to hear these updates, and if we don't get them, they're going to have to put up with annoying hangouts like this one. So they have a choice. They have a clear choice. Derek,
there's one thing we've not talked about before Derek kind of chimes in. Sorry, Derek, which is something it's a kind of real world scenario here from a bunch of customers, which is we are we'll call it legacy. So we're XI3 customer running against some version of BW. It doesn't matter what version. And we've been using it for some time. We have a lot of stuff. How do we move to BI4? And those people are the people that we've had the greatest trouble convincing to move to BI4 for kind of realistic reasons. which is that there's stuff that they just can't do that they need to do in an upgrade. Does anyone else have a view on that?
Well, I think that's a big problem for everybody moving to BI4, not just the legacy customers from the SAP side. I mean, Desky going away is a huge deal for a lot of people.
For some customers, I mean, I've got customers with 20, 30,000 Desky reports.
Yeah.
Tell them that they can't have it. They go,
yeah. Shame on you for building 20 to 30,000 Desky reports. I'm just going to throw that out there.
no, and I kind of understand the blame me and not the 20 or 30,000 people that wrote them, right?
Right.
And I have some sympathy, which says that Desky is a thing of the past. We have online access; it's moved on. Tell that somebody's got 20,000 of them. Yeah.
No, I know. I mean, and that's what we talk about at our local user group meetings ad nauseum. I have all of this legacy stuff, and there's not really anything in the new platform that I need badly enough to figure that problem out.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you're going to have to bring John onto a DS layer to get to the bottom of that, because we're out of time. Derek, I want to get to you, so why don't we start kind of a round of closing comments, what we're looking for from SAP around this topic in the first and second quarters here of 2013, and get off your chest whatever you wanted to say before as well.
Well, all I was going to say before, and hopefully I'm sounding a lot better now.
Yeah.
Was I was agreeing with Jamie's comment, and it actually kind of ties into my kind of closing, sure, in the fact that if we're going to a HANA-only world, which I don't see that happening anytime soon, just because of the pace of SAP-like customers in general, I don't see it happening in the next 2 to 3 years. But even if we're going to a HANA-first world, that's fine. We just need to communicate what is HANA first, then what you get next, and then what do you get next. If that, that's my main message has to do with the messaging. I understand from this vendor, I'm going to get this, and this. Perfect. I'm going to get from SAP, I'm going to get Visi, I'm going to get a Visi release, I'm going to get BI4 Service Pack 4. I'm going to get, predictive. We're going to get, the Design Studios /Zen /Excelsius V3, whatever we're calling it this week. But a clearer knowledge and tie together would avoid this whole fragmentation. And, John Appleby said it earlier, is that you've got so many people all over the place. You've got ASE, you've got HANA, you've got the BW, you've got the Bob J only. How does SAP going to do it? What is their roadmap? What is their plan? Can we expect them to do it all? And maybe no, we can't expect to do it all except if it's HANA. And if that's the case, then we're doing HANA first. Then let's be specific. Let's say it's HANA first, and then say what's coming next after HANA, so I can plan.
Okay. Who wants it? Who wants the conch?
I'll take it. I do think SAP has really propelled themselves much further ahead in the last year. I don't want any of this to come off incorrectly there, but I do think that obviously we still have a lot of work to do. Be upfront with us about where we're going, and I realize that those of us on Twitter and in the community and all that really like to push them for dates, and they sort of begrudgingly give us dates, and then we totally miss those dates. So let's all work together a little bit more on being realistic about that stuff. And yes, we want the innovation, yes, we want it now, but we definitely want it when we're told we're going to get it, and we want it to be ready when we get it, not an alpha / beta version of it. So that's something I would like to see worked on.
Okay.
That is the business objects way, though, Jamie, to be fair.
What is?
Alpha software on the first release.
4.0.
Yeah, but
I'm messing with you. Come on, carry on.
All right, Clint, once more from Singapore. Let's see if we can get one more good audio clip out of you, man. What you got?
So yeah, I think it's, I mean, all in all, it has been, I suppose, a goodish year. E3 of BI4 has been a lot more stable, and customers are starting to use that. So that's good. As I said, I like Visi. It's got huge potential, just not in the hands of the wrong people. And I've got to throw it out there. The statement of direction which Irfan just released on Sybase IQ is pretty awesome for us. Classic Bob J EDW folks. It's as Jamie pointed out, they hid IQ under the cover because of the HANA messaging, and I do believe they need to work together. I mean, there's huge potential if they can get those two technologies, talking almost like a nearline storage like in the BW world, and get them sort of feeding data across them. It's going to be a very, very powerful offering.
John, bring us home, man.
Bring us home. Well, home is Hana, right? Home is where Hana lives. I think we covered it all here. In short, it's a really tough market. We moved from a data warehouse market to a BI platform market that fragmented and splintered into a BI apps market, and SAP's got to try and cover all three categories whilst encompassing ERP customers and Sybase customers and business objects customers and HANA customers all at the same time. And it sounds tough, and it is tough, and they got to do it. There we go.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the analytics throwdown. We were trying to get a little bit more nuance into this beyond HANA. Hopefully we did. Derek, you want to show the peeps your Christmas hat? We've been waiting the whole episode for this. Yeah. Nice. Say something.
I tried to one up John's tree here with my Santa hat.
And I should add, for regular BI content, definitely check out the DS Layered crowd, of which Jamie is a core member. And these other guys have a tendency to get pulled in as well. But you guys doing really setting a good standard, I think, with the BI coverage. So well done.
Thanks.
So guys, I think we've flogged it. I think we're good. I don't know if we changed the game, but the game changed us. So
all those kittens. Guys, have a great night.
Wave to the camera.
Wave to the hand covered in pen.
Yeah. What is
self-mutilation, John? What is that?
What is
that?
that?
Cutting?
Have you looked
Is
at
it a prison tat from when you were on timeout earlier? Well.
Oh man, that is funny. Who knows? Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Night.